Have you ever done a look in the camera
No.
situation?
Have I?
You might have.
I might have. It'll come to me in about 2 days.
How many movies have you forgotten about?
Oh, it's endless.
Hi, Jennifer Aniston.
You into Brunson? I love you so much.
Hi, my comedy queen.
Oh, you have taken the title, my darling.
Oh, that's very sweet, but you know how I feel about you.
I know.
You
You're
know.
so sweet.
I've told you time and time again.
You kind of really broke my heart into 1,000 pieces and made me blush and weep and all. That was a very sweet moment. When we saw you, I saw you recently at, where were we? One of those many things.
Oh, I know what it was, a CAA.
Yes, upstairs.
Yeah, upstairs. And because you're just that girl, an icon.
You are.
But we're here to talk about
Us.
and your dramatic performances.
How'd that happen?
Because I think when you're a comedy legend and baddie, I do think that you transfer over to drama very well, which you do as Alex in The Morning Show.
Thank you, honey.
And you got to do so many cool things as Alex this season. First of all, it's a badass character.
She's pretty fun to play.
She's really cool.
Yeah.
She suffers no fools.
No.
You got to make out with Jonathan Hamm.
John Hamm, yes. That's big, tall drink of water.
Big, tall fella.
Yes.
Also, like, jumping out of his comedy bag into his drama, but he does that.
He's
bounces.
Another one who can just sort of slip in and out of this and that and whatever you just say, here, John, that's what you got. And he's like, got it?
Yeah. You save the company as Alex, and everyone wants to tear you down.
Yeah, they do.
What was the most exciting thing for you? What did you look forward to the most playing Alex this season?
Ooh, boy. There was a lot. Well, John Hamm, getting to work with John, because we've been friends for so many years.
Yeah.
And so when this character came to be, all I could see was John Hamm. And everybody else, all they could see is John Hamm.
Yeah.
And to have this man come in as this billionaire tech guy, it was exciting to sort of explore that side of Alex in that more feminine, romantic world.
Yeah.
Since the end of season 2, and COVID, near-death experience, and kind of coming out of that world of like, F it. I'm gonna go live a little bit and not be so perfectly coiffed Alex. So it was there was a little bit of rebellion, and that's sort of what the Alex Unfiltered show is.
Yeah.
And here she is falling for this man who comes into the company, and of course everyone's like, what is this guy all about? And bringing up for everybody, who am I, and what it brought a lot of stuff up for each character.
Yeah.
What do they stand for morally, and then I had to kind of come to my own, which was fun to have to play that, you're a female and you're falling for this person, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm a journalist and my journalistic integrity is at play here, and have to make that crucial decision.
Yeah.
So there was sort of—
I liked watching that.
It was a lot of fun, twists and turns, and the sort of theme of the show, who can you trust?
One of my favorite moments with you and John Hamm was at Coney Island, and this man berates Alex.
Yeah.
And you just take it, and you have to explain to him, who's a man and a billionaire man.
Yeah.
Because he's like, what's up with this guy? Like, you just take this, and you're like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And I don't know, something in me, like the Quinta Brunson that I am in my life, really related to that.
And what we have to sort of take.
Yeah, and you just
know.
have to.
And you just sort of swallow it. And you're right. As the instinct of a man, it's like chivalry is not dead, to defend a woman who's standing next to him. And it's like, don't waste your time.
Just don't waste your time. And your character, knowing that Coney Island worker was carrying so much that had nothing to do with you, it was just a moment that I guess I felt seen. I don't feel seen that often, but I felt very seen by that.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it was nice to see.
Whatever they can't say to their girlfriends or their wives, I'm the punching bag. It's okay, it's part of the job.
We call ourselves house cats because we very rarely leave our lot. So when
Warner Brothers, yeah?
Yeah, at Warner
Brothers.
And
I love where the story of where you started, that you guys started in actual schools.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, here you are on the Warner Brothers lot.
On the Warner Brothers lot. And my school facade is right across from the Fringe couch. So that's just
Oh
a
my
really
God.
nice like thing that we get to see and remind us why we love comedy so much.
Right?
Yeah,
I
it's
do
really
miss
good.
it. And I say, watching your show, I feel so comforted.
Oh.
There's something about it that just feels safe and cozy. Every character is so hilarious, like equally. There's not one person that's the standout.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this ensemble.
Yeah.
And you just feel for everybody, and you laugh at everybody, and you love everybody, and it's just like, I mean, you've also done more in 10 years than most of us have done in a long career. I mean, really,
Yeah.
to see where you're sitting today.
Yeah,
How
it's
did you
just
kind
crazy.
of wrap your head around, this is, a pilot coming from that BuzzFeed.
Yeah, yeah.
Who knew that that was a thing,
Well,
right? And
yeah,
then all of a sudden,
well, even when I first started working at BuzzFeed, or when I first started using the internet as a stage, because I really look at it as this other stage that got opened up to us.
Sure.
I was doing improv, I was doing stand-up, I was doing,
you started at Second City?
I did. I started at Second City,
Yeah.
Chicago, just taking intensive classes and taking acting classes at Temple. But, even when I was at BuzzFeed, my goal was to one day make a sitcom and one day act in a sitcom. I just found a new stage through the internet, and I didn't even know what BuzzFeed was capable of fully.
How did you find that? How did you, I mean, how does that happen?
I was doing stand-up with
Yeah.
a friend, Justin Tan, and he's now a writer on Abbott, and we're writing a movie together now. I'm really excited. But he was working at BuzzFeed, and for us, it was just a 9 to 5.
Sure.
And he brought me in to be in a video he was producing because we were broke. And he was like, "Do you want to make like $250 and be in this video really quickly?" I said yes. And then I went there and saw what they were capable of doing. I just saw that I could probably, get my feet wet as far as making something similar to a sitcom.
Yeah.
Serial content, having an audience, promising the same thing
Sure.
over and over. And yeah, that's kind of how I got, I mainly needed a job.
Right. Which
So-
is usually how we all start, right?
We all
I just
start
need a
doing things.
job.
Yeah, I just needed a job.
Was Abbott Elementary the first sitcom? I mean, obviously, I'm sure not, but was it your first?
I sold a pilot to CBS and I sold a pilot to HBO Max. Neither of those went, but Abbott was the one that if Abbott didn't get picked up, I was going to move back home.
Janine Teagues from the district. Do you think you can give us like 10 minutes so we can put you in every classroom?
For the kids, I got all the time in the world. As long as it's wrapped up in 10 minutes, I got to get to practice.
Thank you.
I just want you to know,
Yes.
I learned about the beauty of an ensemble
Yes.
through watching Friends.
Well, you just gave me goosebumps. 'Cause-
You know.
Well, watching your show, that's why I think I love watching your show, because I feel that joy of watching an ensemble, and I know the fun that is happening with all of you guys. And you really do all seem to have a really beautiful relationship, and chemistry is just perfection.
Yeah, so did you all.
Did you want to do like 5K, live and or audience, or
No.
you didn't have a preference?
I'm not a multicam girly.
Not a
I
multicam.
think that's, I think the rhythm of multicams has changed so much since you did it. And studying your show, I think what made it so stand out was you found a rhythm. It wasn't exactly the natural multicam rhythm. It was so quick. You guys, people are clapping and laughing, but you guys aren't waiting for the clap or laugh, or it doesn't feel that way to the viewer.
Yeah.
And I think multicams just have a different rhythm now.
Oh, I'd be so curious about that.
Yeah, I mean,
Lisa Kudrow, by the way, hated when the audience laughed.
she did.
She'd be like,
Yeah.
are you still?
Can we get to the next?
She's like, I'm not done.
Yeah.
It's not that funny.
It's not, and you guys operated like a play. It felt like you watch a play when you watch that show. To me, those are the best multicams, when you just feel like you're watching a play.
Yeah.
And your laughter isn't interrupting the flow of the series. But who knows? Maybe one day I'll do a multicam.
I think maybe you and I could do one together. Hello. Because it was a pretty nice experience, and we can bring it back to whatever maybe we want. I mean, listen, it was also so the days of yore.
Yeah.
Who knows, the cameras must look completely different.
They're real intense.
They're just like little alien creatures. Yeah.
Not how they were back in the day. I think you guys got a nice sheen. Now they're just like right in your
Right in
I
your
don't
face.
really need that.
We actually had on our cameras, this started happening like 9th or 10th season, all of a sudden these big lights came on the top of the cameras and we were like, what are these? And we'd always say, oh, these are the Friends Are Old light.
I feel like I remember that change because 9 and 10, well, it got like shinier. It got very shiny.
Just kind of brighten us up a little bit.
You got off the plane.
Speaking of cast and, you know, the chemistry, when you started the casting process of Abbott Elementary, was that something that you couldn't wait? Like you had all the characters in your head.
Yeah.
They were, you know, you knew them so well.
Yes.
And what was that process like?
That was so cool. I started with Tyler James Williams, who's my co-star.
Fantastic.
He's so good. I'd worked with him previously, and I just knew we had a good chemistry and a good rhythm, and I knew that comedically we complemented each other.
Yeah.
Which I think was like more important to me than anything. I know that you pretty much mastered the will they, won't they. I know that's important for that, but just like you and David Schwimmer, it was like, I want to know that this person.
Right. I was thinking, did you have did you kind of have previous sitcom sort of characters like that other than Ross and Rachel?
I would definitely say Cheers.
Yes.
But I don't know if Sam and Diane were as like funny as you guys. You two are funny on your own. And I think that's what was so inspiring to me, that you really stood on your own as a comedic character. And as I've berated you with compliments in the past, like you're just so funny. And then David Schwimmer is his own funny entity.
Yeah.
And I thought that's what was most important for this ensemble comedy. I think it changes from, you know, thing to thing, but we have no real straight man in our show. And that's another thing that I plucked right from, I would say Friends and Martin.
Yeah.
Those were my two shows that I used as a nice, everyone's funny, and that's what I wanted.
Was it hard to fill? I mean, to find? I mean, was there one character that was obviously, you know, that was a tough, we can't find I can't find there.
Barbara was hard, who wound up being Cheryl Lee Ralph, because there's a lot of components that I wanted. And the funny thing about Cheryl didn't know she was funny, but she made me laugh, which was enough.
That's kind of funny.
She's so funny. And then Lisa Ann Walter, who you've worked with in Bruce Almighty.
Which is amazing.
That's
But
also...
you know, when you see someone and you're like, I know where, you're also afraid to say, do I know you? And they're like, well, we work together.
Right.
Oh, or no, you've just seen me, I've seen her on TV, or, you know. I was like, I know I've known her from somewhere.
That was my depression movie, by the way.
It was?
When I was really depressed and I couldn't change the channel, because I was so depressed I couldn't change the channel, I just had a DVD of Bruce Almighty that I watched on repeat while I smoked out of my body.
I have just been shoved down your throat for really a long time.
I grew up with you. You don't look like I grew up with you, but I grew up with you. But her character was tough.
She was tough.
But once she auditioned, I said, we're actually done. I don't want to see anybody else. Need her yesterday. So that one was a tough one. You do casting too. And you're stacked. I was watching this season, like, Tig Notaro.
I mean.
What?
That was, that's also the fun part of being involved and having such a glorious sort of team of producers. It's such a collaboration and we work so well together.
Yeah.
So the casting process is just sort of a fun, what's your dream idea?
I know.
Right? So John was our dream for Paul, and Tig was our dream for, I'm gonna forget the character she plays because I have no memory of character's name. Amanda.
Amanda? Yeah,
I think so.
Amanda, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Because she's such a dry, brilliant. And
I loved it. I love Tig. And when she popped up, I loved it. It was so great.
And that's sort of what's fun about your show too, is that you have these people calling and saying, I would like to be on your show.
Yeah.
And then you get to sort of, you're the creator, you're the writer, so you get to kind of come up with it.
Greta Lee, Nicole Beharie, Karen Pittman. That's a big three for me.
Those are big threes.
There wasn't a moment that I wasn't captivated by an actor on the screen. And that was new for me because I'm not a big drama watcher. But it's just all of these women who I think are incredible actresses, in addition to you and Reese.
And Nicole Beharie, I mean, the scene with her and Holland Taylor.
Oh my God.
You know, you sort of think of certain scenes over the season that really sort of just blew, you couldn't take your, to watch her and Holland play that very, you know, intense and ride that line, walk that line rather.
just fantastic.
So beautiful
That
to
was
watch.
fantastic television. I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? I had already seen the clips show up online, and it still felt different watching it in the moment. I knew what was gonna happen,
Yeah.
but they're such good actresses that I was glued to my seat. Just incredible stuff. Did you get to have a part in casting them?
We do.
That's
and then
cool.
it also, for our head writer, showrunner,
Yeah,
for her, she has to sort of, because these are her characters,
yeah.
so she sort of has to put pictures next to the cast that's existing, and just she feels out.
Yeah,
is this
true.
energy going to work together?
Yeah.
Does this make sense
Yeah.
to see, Nicole next to Esther?
You're right. She's really good at that. That's something that I'd like to get better at as a, creator showrunner. Always, it's hard, but you guys have time. And in network TV, it just feels like there's not as much
No time.
Yeah.
Well, and we're lucky this season because we're getting a head start on it, so
Yeah.
we do have a little more time.
Yeah.
But it is the fun of it, is being able to sort of put the right, ingredients together and just see what makes magic.
Hey, there you are.
Hi, here I am.
Are you okay?
Yeah, just processing everything that's about to happen.
I'm just curious, when you are producing this, do you come in with ideas as a producer of what you want for Alex or what you want for Bradley or any of the characters?
Well, yes. I mean, we all sort of start, we start at the top of the season, usually months before, and Charlotte Stout, our head writer, showrunner, will give us the idea of the arc, the big picture.
Yeah.
Like the theme, who can you trust was last year's
yeah.
theme. And then we will sort of digest the big picture, and then we'll come in and ask some questions and give some ideas and suggestions, and then she'll sort of sit with all of that, and then she writes out a more specific outline, and then we'll each sort of give our thoughts and notes on what we think. And but we're so blessed with with Charlotte Stout and our writers. It's just, you just wait to see what we're sitting there getting the pitches for, the episodes, and we're just like, you're on the edge of your seat.
Yeah, and what they do isn't easy. I mean,
No.
it's so timely.
Yeah.
And with your shooting schedule, when something comes out versus when you start again. And I think you guys do a really good job. I thought the flashback to January 6th was a smart idea to stay current, but also, be present in the new season. I thought that was really cool.
It's tough.
Yeah.
That was tough for Reese.
Yeah,
Shoot.
that was wild.
It's scary. It's all, even though these are actors and background actors, it's still, that is to be in that environment. It was all so realistic.
Yeah, what was that set?
It was somewhere downtown.
Are they in the Capitol?
You would think, right?
I don't know, it's Apple. I thought Apple money. I thought you guys paid the president.
You would think. Did you hear that, Apple?
Because
Where's the fourth camera?
Can I ask a question I've wanted to ask you my whole life?
Yes.
Your subtlety as a comedic actress and dramatic actress is something that I think the girls, if you will, have tried to emulate for a long time. It's inspired me in my acting, where I just want to be able to carry as much as you do without doing, like you carry so much in your face. People are like, I'm scared, oh no. I feel like you've always been so subtle. And so is that just from your birth, or is that something you learned how to do?
Imagine if I came out of
your mom
going like, hey, ba-dum-bump. Hi guys, I'm here. No.
And that's what you do. You never bump. You are so subtle. It's like
the comedy that I really respond to is comedy that is coming out of the truth of a situation.
Yep.
Where it's not showy and hitting the joke, right? Or hitting that punchline. Jim Burrows, who was our director for the first half of the first season, he kind of really set a tone for us.
Yeah.
The way he would direct was incredible, because he wouldn't even watch the actors. He would have his hands behind his back, head down. He would just pace back and forth and listen to the rhythms.
Yes, that's what I like to do.
And then if he knew that something wasn't good, he'd go cut.
Yep.
Right before the punchline, so you would never hear. So you would never ruin the punchline for the audience.
Love that.
Jimmy was always about, I need you to take it down. Be more like, let's get to the truth of this.
Yeah.
We're just telling a story.
Yeah.
And what's funny is how absolutely freaking ridiculous this situation is.
Yeah.
Like Phoebe finding a thumb in a Coke can.
Yes,
Or,
yes.
that's what I'm drawn to is just comedy that comes out of, I also had really funny parents.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They made me laugh, and who knows what they were doing. But
Yeah. Are you only child?
I have a half brother.
Okay. Is he older?
First marriage, yeah.
Cool.
My mom's first marriage.
So you're the youngest. That's what I was looking for.
I'm the baby.
Yeah, you're the baby. Me too.
Yeah.
I've talked a lot about this with other babies and how you absorb everything from the olders, the older siblings, the older parents, and then it makes you hyper, like,
How
subtle.
many siblings do you have?
I have 4.
Whoa.
I'm the baby of 5.
Baby of 5.
Baby of 5, old parents.
What happens with the order? Is it the first baby is...
The oldest baby, he's the big baby. He can get away with anything.
Okay, so we still call him a big baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
But me, the youngest, no, I feel like I had a lot of pressure, but I think that all my siblings poured their comedy into me. Like, they were fans of so many of the 90s comedies that were on, and they would let me stay up late with them and watch them. But then my parents were fans of the Andy Griffith Show and the Brady Bunch, comedies that were on when they were younger. My mom loved a show called Mary Tyler Moore. She loved the show called The Real McCoys, which was an old black and white show.
I remember that.
My mom used to have me watching that, so I got like decades of comedy packed into me. Yeah, which I think has a lot to do with.
Which I love so much because so many younger, successful actors, entertainers, don't have an awareness of where this sort of all began, like the history of
The craft.
watching those shows. I just really got
Same.
inspired by those.
Same. They even though they were doing multicams, the newest versions of them, Mary Tyler Moore was very subtle, very confident as an actress. She wasn't flailing all over the place, and even that had its risk. Lucille Ball was doing the bigger acting, but there was
Somehow it didn't. It wasn't just like, ooh.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
So in season 3, what made you decide for Janine to kind of take the job out, and leave her students?
Yeah, I wanted Janine to have a lot of growth really fast. We only had 14 episodes this season because of the strike.
Yeah.
Normally we would have had 22.
Yep.
And I just was anxious to grow this character up a bit. I think, we had so far done 13 plus 22, 35 episodes of television. And I felt that with the 22, we had done Janine doing the same thing, which is fun. And I think it's a part of comedy. You want to see those characters do the same thing, kind of make the same mistakes. It's a part of their character and what makes them special. But with Janine, because she wound up being more important to more people than I anticipated.
You mean your audience?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that happens when you are making a show with a predominantly Black cast. The cast is still serving as representation for so many people, not even just Black people, but any marginalized group that hasn't seen themselves portrayed. And, originally I would go in and go, oh, well, Rachel was able to do this, or like Leslie Knope was able to do this, or Liz Lemon was able to do this, but Janine started to carry a lot of weight in a way those other characters had a freedom that Janine didn't.
Did not.
That was something we learned in season 2, where her fun antics and silliness have real, consequences for the audience, where I was like, okay, so how do we balance who she is as a comedic character and give her a little bit of growth, and
she also steps into a position where she can really make a difference.
where she can really make a difference, and which that's
on a bigger...
Right, and that's our goal for her.
Yes.
So I figured, why not start painting that picture a little bit for her? Instead of the continuous, I want to make change, I can't, I want to make change. What happens when she actually can?
Right.
And I felt like if at the end of the season we write ourselves into a corner, so be it. But we didn't, and I'm excited for how much she's grown in this time. And now it's been, she's back at Abbott, but she's there with a newfound understanding of who she is, which I think wound up being important for lots of young girls to see. And I have a hard time trying to figure out what my responsibility is. Sometimes I don't want any responsibility.
Right, you just want to tell your story.
I just want to, and sometimes I don't want my characters to have any
Yeah.
responsibility.
I know.
But, sometimes
Just comes with it.
It just comes with it.
I mean, the amount of teachers that approach you,
Yes.
and what do they say? I mean, they must talk about being seen.
I
feeling
know.
seen.
And believe it or
And understanding the struggles that they all go through, where they're like, yes, it's hard to get anything done.
Yeah, and believe it or not, I didn't anticipate that. I remember we had our first screening for Abbott, the pilot, for a bunch of teachers from LA USD. And I was like, oh, it hit me for the first time that teachers were gonna see it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, oh. So what if they hate it? That's kind of crazy.
Am I representing correctly?
Yeah, that was the first time I even thought about representing them after the
Sure.
pilot was already done and the season was already being written. And fortunately, these teachers loved it. And that became a newfound responsibility for us to carry. We didn't ask for it, we being me, the producers, the actors, the writers' room, but it was thrust upon us. And it is always a balance of how do we carry this, but make sure we're just doing the comedy.
Right.
Which is what I think is most important.
And your team of writers is like, okay, here's the job. This is what the assignment is. And you all are able to sort of, there's a sort of gel that takes place amongst you all that just sort of
Yes. And
allows that to happen.
Yeah, and I think in even hiring our writers, we have the exact same writers' room as the first season, which is amazing.
That's incredible.
Nobody wants to leave this job.
That's incredible.
It's really nice. All of us.
Says so much.
Yeah, and all the people I hired in the hiring process, I remembered I didn't want people who thought it was funny to laugh at or make fun of teachers, but people who understood the importance of laughing with these characters.
Right.
And that wound up becoming so important for making TV that winds up representing teachers.
And it has such a beautiful balance of funny and heartbreak and real and
Thank you.
what you're fighting for and the obstacles that you come up against. It's just, so tone,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
tone is a big deal
Yeah.
for creating a show and picking that director that's gonna come on.
Yep.
Because that vision,
Yeah.
because you have you're the storyteller.
Right.
So you have to then find that director that
Yep.
comes in and you
Yep.
say, here's my baby.
Yep.
And I need to know how you are going to basically show this story,
Yeah.
tell this story.
Similar to like the writing process, I really wanted a director who got what we were doing. I didn't really want to spend a lot of time explaining what we were doing. And Randall Einhorn, who directed our pilot and is an executive producer, and he directs like probably half the episodes a year.
Oh, he does?
He does.
Each year, each season so far?
Each season, he is an EP and fantastic director. He just got it. He read the script and he understood the warmth of it, the color of it. He was the first person to say, yeah, this can't look like The Office because that was fluorescent lighting, because that was a corporate place going through economic downturn. He was like, it can't look like Parks and Rec because that was a little bit too sunny and optimistic. This is a public school in Philadelphia. There's a warmth to it that's a bit sunny yet grimy.
Yeah.
That really, he pointed that out immediately and I just went, you get this show.
Oh.
He had come from mockumentary, so he understood that because that was very important to have a director who actually got the style.
Yeah.
Because although I wrote it as a mockumentary, I had never worked on one. And it's a totally different directing style.
Which I love the mockumentary.
It's really cool. I can't front. I love it.
I just
eat it
love
up
whenever
every
the
time.
eyes just kind of come into camera. It's like.
Have you ever done a look in the camera?
No.
situation?
Have I?
You might have. And
I might have. It'll come to me in about 2 days.
How many movies have you forgotten about?
Oh, it's endless. Oh, that was my other question. Improv. Like, how much do you guys get to sort of just play off of, let a moment kind of have its moment?
Have its moment. We try to give everybody a real tight script. That's important to us. So we do that. And the actors have told us multiple times they don't feel a need to do it because it's all on the page.
Sure.
That being said, when they do take it upon themselves to riff, it's incredible. It knocks me off my feet because they know their characters so well. Chris Perfetti, who plays Jacob on my show, constantly blows my mind with the choices he makes after he finishes the line and finishes the amount of takes where he's, we're like, Chris, you try one.
Yeah.
And he knows his character so well that it's just incredible. Janelle James who plays Ava, is just probably one of the funniest people I've ever been around.
Yeah.
Just funny. She can't even help it. But she knows her character so well
Yeah.
that it's not just Janelle James talking, it's Ava talking when
Right.
she chooses to riff. So sometimes we just let her go.
And then do you just get giggles?
I
How
just
often do you
laugh.
guys break? Because
I break all the time.
right.
Because I'm already watching the show. I'm already in
I don't
editing
know.
while we're in the scene. So I'm just laughing. Like, I'm useless. Everybody else is pretty good.
Oh,
Yeah,
God. I can
yeah.
only imagine.
Yeah, there's multiple takes where they just had to cut me out because I'm just sitting there like, They're like, you're in the scene, please.
And that tone, by the way, was set. Your production designer, all of it is just beautiful.
No one ever talks about the production designer. I need to shout out to Michael Whetstone.
Yeah.
He is incredible, and I feel like he doesn't get enough credit because it is a school
Yeah.
and it's mundane.
Yeah.
But I often feel like the mundane is harder to do.
Oh,
I think it's easier to make like a spaceship and throw some silver on it.
sure.
But to get the fine cracks, the age cracks,
The little details, the
little
things that are
teeny
on a desk.
details. The way he ages the desks in Barbara's room versus Janine's
Mm-hmm.
is incredible because Barbara's been teaching there for a long time. Janine's fairly new. So doing different aging, and he gets so intense about his job. Our outside set is now concrete, and
Yeah.
he's like, this is concrete. And he talks to me like a dad. And you don't care what your dad is talking about when he's talking about like plywood and stuff. I don't care about that. But Michael loves it so much. And,
Yeah.
and any person walking across that concrete wouldn't know how much love went into it.
Goes
But
into that.
yeah,
See, that's what's so beautiful about a cast and a crew.
yeah,
Every single human being on that set
yeah.
provides a service that is absolutely essential for every
Invaluable.
single piece of that production.
Yeah.
There ain't no star, there isn't any, it's
Yeah.
not, it's a collaboration of every single
Absolutely.
artist down to the PAs that stay until
Yeah.
they're there before you get there and they're there way after you leave.
I thought we beat cigarettes with the Truth campaign. It's just so retro.
Well, maybe they're getting cool again. I mean, clogs are back. Anything's possible.
Yes, but there are some cool clogs.
You ask Jen, Quinta, what
Yeah.
it's like to watch Friends now.
Oh God, don't make me cry.
I won't. We won't make each other cry.
Okay.
Well, you're already crying. Do you want a minute? We don't have to talk about.
No, I'm sorry, I just started thinking about.
I know. Yeah. Are you sure? We don't have to
Yeah,
really.
no, I'm okay.
Okay.
It's a happy tears.
Yeah.
Thank you, honey. Okay. Okay. And we're back.
Okay. So,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Friends is turning 30.
And I'm turning 30.
And you are turning 30.
This is so cool.
Isn't that
what a
wild?
coincidence.
It's so crazy. When you were a baby on that show, you were so advanced.
Wasn't I?
Your fine motor skills were insane.
I was an old soul.
You were an old soul.
It's crazy, 30.
It is crazy. It is wild. And
Yes.
that show premiered. I was 5. And it continues to be one of the best shows on television.
It's so strange to even think that it's 30 years old because it actually I remember the day that it was going to premiere, on television,
Yeah.
on NBC.
Yeah.
And me and Matthew Perry were having lunch somewhere and we knew Lisa was getting her hair colored. So we ran into the hair salon and I snuck up and she was in the sink, the hair bowl, and I took the nozzle and just started washing her hair from the guy that was supposed to be doing it, and it definitely flew out of control, and that was unfortunate. But the excitement we had, and it feels like yesterday.
Yeah.
That day just feels, and so the fact that it's had this long, wonderful life,
Yep.
and it's still means a lot to people, is one of the greatest gifts I think all 6 of us never could imagine. You
Yeah.
know? We see each other. I talked to FaceTime with Court last night for like an hour.
Yeah.
And Lisa and the boys. And we just have it's a family forever.
For sure.
Yeah.
Being a part of an ensemble like that, I mean, I'm part of one now only 3 years, and those people are involved, they're family.
Yes.
They're family, they become family. You spend all that time on set with someone and, press, and also going through I can't even imagine because that was the 90s, which is probably different, but a phenomenon like you guys did with each other. There's also, there's excitement bonding, there's trauma bonding, there's all this bonding that happens in there.
Yes.
You know, Tyler is probably one of the closest people to me in my life now,
Yes.
all because of this little show. So,
Because you just say it was in the 90s and in early, 2000s, and it was we had a luxury of there not being social media or the internet. So we were so isolated and kind of protected. You weren't
Yeah.
faced with weird what people are commenting and ripping you apart or whatever.
I dream.
Right? It was a dreamy time, and I know I
yeah.
sound sort of nostalgic, but we were really about the work.
Yes,
We really were
yeah.
about the show.
Yeah.
We weren't like, oh, you're awesome, you're the best, that so-and-so sucks,
Right,
this is
right.
who's the worst, and you're the best.
Right.
It was just, it was an innocent time where we could roam about the world a lot easier.
yeah.
And it was, so
I
we were
wish.
really able to kind of, even though it became a big
Yeah.
thing, like a year into it, I guess it was, or we then were able to be together and support when it was like, wow, this thing is kind of becoming a bigger thing. But again, there wasn't phones. It's not like hundreds of screens telling you what it is.
I wish we could go back.
Well, we can.
I-
Time machine.
I'm trying
We'll
to
build
get
one.
people to go back. I can't. I'm so
I know.
with the phones, the socials, and the medias.
I know.
Enough.
It's got to have a little. We've got to put some. I mean, of course, listen to me. Some legislation around. I mean, something. Kids shouldn't be using phones until they're at least 16. You can't drive a car until you're 16. You shouldn't be on. That's more dangerous.
Yeah.
To protect your kids in the world.
Yeah.
You got to protect them from the internet.
It is for sure all of that, and just in our world, I think it's affected how people have engaged with television and film. And you know, sometimes that breaks my
Yes.
heart. I long for the days. I'm like, man, I wish I could have been a showrunner, an actor back then when it wasn't. We're a part of your thing. We're part. We're going to tell you what you're doing because we know your and we know your handle, and it's just
Right.
jarring. At least send it
We're
to me in
shaping
the
your
mail.
show about like what the algorithm is and what you need to have more of and what you
Yeah.
need to have less of.
Yeah.
We never had to speak to any of that.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
more what were the fans loving it?
Yeah.
That's all that mattered.
Yeah, and now you have to really create that vacuum with Abbott. I had a strict no social media policy for the first season.
Ooh,
and I said,
good.
I don't care what social media is asking us to do. We have to do what we, the writers, want to do. We
Right.
know these characters. This is our world.
Yeah.
And I like to think of making TV like a writer writing a book, beginning, middle, and end, and then you get it after the book is written.
Yeah.
And I try to look at TV that way because it makes me feel like I'm at least doing a semblance of what you're talking
And you
about.
are though, but you
Yeah.
really are. That's what why I say it's there's such a comfort in watching it and also being with these characters.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a beautiful thing that you do that. You set that for yourself. That's sort of a beautiful boundary because otherwise you'll lose your original creation.
Yeah.
It's a success because of you and you alone and that, I mean, and of course your entire, but that brainchild that came out of your smart, beautiful head.
Thank you. This has been the dream of my life, as you can tell. I just admire you. I'm so excited for what you do next, and I think you're a really, really lovely person.
Oh, bless. So are you, honey. And while we're here, I'm going to put my hat in the ring like all the other actors do, because if Bradley Cooper can do it. If you find a moment on Abbott that you can see a moment for this one, I'd love to come play with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay.